Can't wait for all the people. Oh, everything's got to be so PC. Gay people exist. Can't wait for that.
Right.
Oh no, they have superpowers now. Ah. Yes. I like how you saw me censor myself right there.
I was gonna say something bad too. So I was like, you know what? Let me not cancel this. We only got 50.
Yeah, we're gonna get canceled making fun of the people that hate on people. That's what we would do. That's us.
Oh,
yeah, both of us said, "Oh, we gotta stop. We gotta stop."
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I am the unforgettable one himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming, and we're two guys that like BSN at work. It's been a long time. We got the crew back together. I feel great. This is a family reunion. This is gonna be a good day. And speaking of good days, this is a day at least I've been waiting for a long time. We did a pod in October, I believe it was. James Gunn, Peter Safran taking over as the new heads of DC. And we knew that this new DCU slate, this DC Studios slate was going to come at some point.
Eventually.
We didn't know when it was. And I think in like November or December, he confirmed early 2023. We all assumed that'd be January. And he literally made us wait until the last day of January. So today is the first. This probably won't go up to the second, but that's okay. But as of this recording, yesterday was the 31st, and he finally made his announcement. He told us about 10 new projects that we can expect over the next coming years. And this is only part one, chapter one of this new thing. So we're going to dive into it. We're going to break down everything that we know so far and then give you just our opinions of everything. All right. So let's do this. So chapter one, what we have so far, let me move us over so that people can see. Chapter one, he's calling this Gods and Monsters. And he also said that we still might not have everything so far, but this is just the 10 projects we know about, as well as some other projects that we already knew of. But it's called Gods and Monsters. It will introduce us to our new Superman, our new Batman, and potentially our new Wonder Woman. We'll get into that in a little bit. Other notable DC characters will also debut as long as some left field ones. James Gunn loves those obscure characters that mostly nobody knows about, and we definitely got a couple of those announced in this slate as well. I ain't mad at it. We knew we were going to get that when he took the job. He went a little bit even more obscure than I was even thinking he was going to do. But hey, listen, this is only chapter one. I'm cool with it. And also established movies, like I said, like the Batman Part 2 was announced officially. We knew that was coming. Joker 2, we already knew that was coming. And other quote unquote elsewhere movies were officially announced, and it was official that they're going to be quote unquote elsewhere movies. So they will have their own label, their own logo, so that you as the fan, if you're going to see any of these movies, you know the difference. So when you see more than one Batman, you're like, wait, but I thought what's his name was Batman. What's going on? Like, no, the Robert Pattinson stuff is the Robert Pattinson stuff that is totally separate from what these other projects are going to be, so on and so forth, and blah, 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 blah. So first major one, new Superman movie called Superman Legacy. This is there are now, so this is weird. So there are projects that are coming before this, not just the movies that are coming out this year, which we'll get into later, but some of these new projects are going to come before this. But this movie officially, quote unquote, sets the new DCU. This is going to be our official timeline start of this new stuff that we're going to be looking at. So this is our big thing. And he said this was going to happen. He said Superman has to be the focal point. He has to be the lead on this. This makes sense.
This casting is the most important casting because as a fan, ironically, I'm wearing a Superman shirt right now. Me and Brett did not coordinate our outfits. And that's the truth. We really didn't. It's just ironic that he has Batman on, I have Superman on. For those that are watching. Oh, wait, we're only watching. Yeah. But this one, I'm half and half on because I'm happy I'm wearing the shirt because I'm not the biggest Superman fan compared to the other things you guys hear me nerd about. I feel like it does come off that I know like enough as a DC fan about Superman. I have my own Superman comics, like The Death of Superman. Mind you, the animated movie is better than the graphic novel in regards to The Death of Superman, if you guys haven't checked that out. But this type of project, the way I've read it, the way it comes off to me, and maybe you have a different perception of what you read and heard, is it seems like this is made for the people who love Smallville. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I never was into Smallville like that. It has a fan following, a cult following, good for them. And it seems like they're going to get that type of feel from this, because Smallville got bigger than I think they ever expected it to get. So it ran longer than I think they ever expected it to run. This feels like that's what they want to capture while rebooting this cinematic universe. So I feel like it's right. This is a good way to start it off. And it all depends on the casting. Excuse me. If they get somebody like equivalent to like a Tom Holland, who's looks young enough to play the role for years, and then by the time it's established he's Superman in the movies and in the zeitgeist, and he looks the age, that's all you really need, besides obviously a good actor, one that we believe is Superman, similar to how Henry Cavill was.
Right.
I'm upset Henry Cavill ain't coming back, but at the same time, I understand why he's not coming back. So this makes sense. I don't get how you're going to start off with something called Legacy, because, you know, it's kind of like the last movie being called Genesis. Not really exactly how these words work usually, but Superman Legacy, seeing how, you know, and although not an origin story, will follow Superman as he tries to balance Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. So the legacy is obviously of Krypton. Something when me and Brett have talked about, that 30-minute opening scene in Man of Steel, awesome. So if it's more of that type of vibe, where we feel the differences between Krypton and Earth more, that's how you humanize Superman, because he's pretty much a god that's from Kansas. Like, he's from Krypton, but who he is, Clark, he's from Kansas. He's not Kal-El. Everybody that knows him personally calls him Clark. That's his name. Kind of like for the Game of Thrones fans out there, it doesn't matter what he was called at birth. His name is Jon. He's Jon Snow. Everyone calls him Jon. He's always going to be Jon. That's his actual name. So when it comes to Superman, Clark is who he is. And it's something that many of us can identify with when it comes to how our heritage or our culture, where we come from, is part of us, and we feel like that's part of our identity. And if we don't know enough about it, it feels like part of us is missing. That's a very human trait. It's the easiest way to make a dramatic movie from a dude that can take bullets to the eyeballs. So I feel like this is where it needs to start off. I'm just hesitant, like I am with every Superman project, because besides Man of Steel, it's not like I'm out here praising any live action Superman movie. That's just me personally.
Well, you make a good point. Superman is such a hard character to capture in live action, because he is such a complicated figure. And how do you do that to capture the people's imagination, capture their hearts? And that was one of the very few, for people that, you know, some people didn't like the Henry Cavill Superman because they thought he was too dark, right? He's not Batman. He's supposed to be joyful. He's supposed to be this beacon of hope. And again, it's called Gods and Monsters. Like you said, he is a god. He's supposed to be like Jesus Christ. Like, you know what I mean? Jesus was born in a manger. He was found in a cornfield. And he has the powers of a god. He can rule us all without thinking about it, but he purposely doesn't. He purposely has the most patience. He purposely has the most grace. He purposely has the most mercy. He purposely has the most kindness. So that's what endears Superman to so many people. But at the same time, sometimes that's hard to capture in a 2-hour live action film, especially back in the day when you didn't have the special effects to make the fight scenes as fun. Let's be real. Man of Steel is awesome because those fight scenes were like one of the best things we've ever seen in live action.
All of us nerds that, okay, Hollywood can do a DBZ live action movie.
Right,
because
exactly.
You watch DBZ growing up, that action scene in Smallville, that's Dragon Ball Z. The big one and the small one, standing and looking at the main hero, that's Goku versus Nappa and Vegeta. Right there. That whole fight was lifted from that. I don't care what you say. They even had a scene similar to the cartoon, DBZ cartoon, when Nappa flies up and just chops a wing off a jet.
Mm-hmm.
They did that in Man of Steel in a way when he flies up and they're just like, I don't care about these stupid machines you got. And the fight scene's awesome. And that fight scene's awesome too, because the army guy, the dude from Law and Order, I forget his name, but the one that the chick, he kills the chick.
Yeah.
And it was kind of joking the whole time that she thought that dude was hot. Like, you know what I mean? Like she just keeps walking past him, giving him the eyes. And it's because he's actually a tough guy. It showed that the Kryptonians what they respect, what they don't respect. And one thing they respected is they know they can pop that dude like a bug. That dude didn't care, and he was actually standing up to him. So they were kind of like, we like this guy. This guy's cool. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna kill him, but he's cool. So little things like that. If you can build off that, and the whole it's too dark. It's too dark. There's a camp of Superman fans that want the campy, sunshiny Superman, which is fine. You know, different strokes for different folks. I like that he was, you know, in his 20s, still dealing with his power and not having a damn clue how to use it. Like,
but to be fair, I think that's what they're going for here. Like, this isn't going to be like a teen. So, and the site I sent you when you were just reading on this was like a little oversight. So I've been following this. The Superman that they're going to get is probably going to be mid-20s, maybe even early 30s. So it's supposed to be a guy that's already moved to Metropolis. He's already working at the Daily Planet. He's already basically trying to start this life of being a full-time superhero while being a full-time journalist, all this other stuff. So it's going to be about that same thing. And they want to have a 10-year plan, which is why they want a younger Superman. Because like you said, they want someone that can grow into the character over the next decade or so.
So probably early 20s seems like also, and this is not going to be found anywhere because this is like a detail that why would they say this before they actually start doing anything for it, right? When is it going to be set? Like the whole universe, I mean, right? Because obviously, as we'll get into it in a few, there's a couple of prequel shows that take place thousands of years before the events of whenever this is going to take place. So a Superman show where he's younger could take place in a world with the Justice League 50 years beforehand. He ages differently. Right. You know what I mean? Like me and you have talked about, I'll bring it up again. I've said this my whole life, it's not going to happen. But there's a way to do this story where we actually do it in the order these things came out. Like Superman drops in the 50s after there was a guy in Gotham City around World War II. You know what I mean? Like, so he's actually coming up in the 60s and 70s. So by the 90s, when we're all, you know, sick of humanity and all goth and all that stuff, he still looks like he's 30. Like that's the whole, you know what I mean? Like the Justice League could exist. We could have a lot of fun with these set pieces that me and you as 30-year-olds remember the 90s. But to a kid, a 15-year-old now, they don't remember the 90s. So a Superman Justice League set back in the 20th century could literally work on a bunch of different levels while still feeling like it's not a different world.
That we don't know yet about timetables and when stuff is going to happen.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying. That's what I've always wanted. Why have we never gotten? Think about it. Why have we never gotten, like in our lifetime? I mean, a Batman set in the 30s or something along those lines. You know what I mean? To where his ridiculous wealth would actually put him above all these criminals. It's still, but you could have the fun of, wow, this dude really is just in some combat gear, jumping around 1930s Jersey City or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you can have a lot of fun with it.
Well, I mean, to answer your question, because especially with movies now, it's all about the high-tech stuff. So in the 30s, there's only so much he could have technology-wise. Where now, even in the Batman, right, like it was so grounded, but the technology was still amazing, like the goggles that he had and stuff like that. You're not doing it in the 30s.
No, 100%. Let's be real. You don't even have to say the technology. Us as the nerd community and the consumers, right? We like new Batmobiles. It's a small thing, but if you notice, we never really go backwards.
Right. It's like, you always got to up the ante with the Batmobile. Exactly. You can't do that.
Because even when you have the retro one, like this one was like a Camaro or something, right? It had that old muscle car look. That was the closest thing we've ever gotten to going back in time.
Right.
The damn Nolan universe literally gave him a tank. like they didn't even try. They were like, "Yeah, I'm making up a tank. Why? I can. like I'm giving him a tank.
I mean, if you think about
He
it,
can go like
a
this.
billionaire wanted to drive a car around and chase bad guys, he probably would just have a tricked out tank. I mean, because why wouldn't he? You know what I mean? So, but that's the thing. So, yeah, we'll find out. To be honest, I'm with you. I'm very hesitant about this movie only because I know the backlash. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter who they get. Unless it's like Keanu Reeves, like some people are gonna be pissed because they want their Henry Cavill, blah 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 blah.
Well, it's a mixture too, man, because it's tough. Because Henry Cavill looked like Superman, less so than his acting ability. He literally looks like our mind's eye of Superman. The dude's a good-looking dude, and he's swole. He looks like Superman. The problem with Superman, kind of like what was it, Superman Returns like 15, 20 years ago? It was a slower Superman movie based off the Christopher Reeves movies. They got a dude that was built like Christopher Reeves, so skinnier, which given the right production, it could work. If you make a skinny Superman, it can work, because in the comics, even he gets bigger over time. It's not like he just started off looking like Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. Henry Cavill was born to play Superman. Like he just was.
Because if you got what's the dude's name? Timothy Chalamet, Chalamet or whatever. That the dude is everywhere. He's skinny as all hell. Dune's awesome. I can't wait for Dune 2. But if they casted him as Superman, the dude's a good enough actor where he could be Superman, because part of Superman is he blends in.
Right.
Like he looks like a regular ass person. And mind you, I think it's funny because I'm thinking, oh, Dune, another planet dropped off, savior of a new planet. I was like, wait, that's Dune. He's already in that movie. so maybe that's funny why I just randomly thought of him, because I'm trying to think of like a younger dude. Mind you, he's getting older now because he's been around for a long enough time now.
I mean, he still looks like he's 12. So yes,
but that's the problem, because he's one of those dudes that's gonna look like he's 12, and then he's just gonna be a good-looking old dude one day. Like he's just gonna look old one day. And that's what's gonna happen with Tom Holland too, because all the dudes that played Spider-Man had that same trait, and they went from looking young forever to looking their age real quick. So
right, and I think even Peter Safran said that Superman's supposed to be, I forgot the exact quote, but he's supposed to be kind in a world that thinks that kind is old school. So that's what they're going for.
Man, that's really good, but like that's the point, right? Like he's like I think it's funny. We're so our generation, I'm talking about now, we're so jaded when it comes to just pure superheroes. Like I'm a Batman fan. Like I choose Batman, but my second favorite, as you know, is Spider-Man. Like I like him because he's so conflicted, because the whole great power comes great responsibility. There's plenty of times in the comics where he just says, I'm going to hurt you now, because he's a kid. He's like, no, I'm going to break your face. You really crossed the line.
That's why even that line was so powerful in No Way Home, where he's like, yeah, sometimes it gets bad when you stop holding your punches, right? We think about, and again, we like complicated superheroes because we're complicated people. We don't want to see people that are just better than us, right? We don't like seeing people. I mean, even celebrities. So a lot of times people hate celebrities that just come off as perfect, because it's like, oh, you're so freaking perfect. You're better than the rest of us, right? We like having people to see humanity in ourselves.
And the irony of Superman, right, is he chooses. People hate him for not what you just said. They hate him because he has all this power and he chooses to be a broke writer. Like, because I forget, there was allusions to it in the Man of Steel and the Snyderverse, right? But that's a huge part. Like Lois makes more at the same job because she's a better at the job. She makes more. And he's just a broke journalist like we are. And they're like, why don't you do? And then when he does in Injustice, when he's finally like, fuck it, it's my planet. It's like, oh, how are we ever going to beat him? Yeah, that's what makes him a hero.
That's the point. Right. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. He's supposed to be this Jesus-like figure. Like he can do everything, but he chooses to be perfect because he has to be perfect. Because if he wasn't perfect, the rest of us are kind of screwed. You know what I mean? So
I like how there's now an evil Superman trope in like the culture and in sci-fi and comics. Like Brightburn did it, a couple other Invincible. All these ones have these evil Superman tropes that people like. I've watched a video on YouTube talking about it where it's like, oh, well, why, why is this a trope now? Because it's the scariest effing thought in our imagination is that our good guy, like what we all agreed, at least in Americana and Western society, is like our default superhero. If we could bring one to life to defend the planet, it's Superman.
Right.
If that dude just said, "This is
Screw
mine now," we
Right.
can't do anything. And I'm mad. The reason I'm upset about the Snyderverse is I really wanted to see another Snyder movie, not just for Darkseid, which I still think we're going to get Darkseid eventually, because the reaction to Darkseid was so overwhelming. I feel like Warner Brothers knows now, and let's be real, Thanos is a Darkseid ripoff, and now he's the most popular villain of all time. So I feel like if we can get at least have some type of theme with the possibility, like a vision again of evil not even evil, High Chancellor Superman, because he's still not a bad guy.
Not bad. Hold that thought, because I'm gonna get to that at the end. I like keep that thought. So, but let's move on, because there's 9 other projects we gotta talk about.
Yeah, we nerded out hard. Well, we're not gonna nerd for 20 minutes on The Authority. No offense.
This is the movie that's coming right after. Oh, by the way, this is the one movie of the new projects that, when I say new projects, we just didn't know were coming. That has a release date July 11th, 2025. Gunn is actually writing it, and he's probably going to direct it as well.
If he's directing a Superman movie, I can't wait. Yeah, Superman has some whacked out villains. So if that's why Gunn wants Superman, because some of his villains suck.
Well, what's funny? The rumor is he doesn't want to do it. Peter Safran and WB want him to do it.
Well, no, but I'm saying if he does, I shouldn't say want to, but if he does it, it'll be good. Because Superman has villains that sound like they should be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right, and Batman, they both have just
Oh well, Batman's known for
he was freaking Polka Dot Man. I could definitely see him doing a fucking Batman movie with the Condiment King. Like, I see that happening,
bro. He'll do the Superman movie and have Doomsday and actually stick to the comics, so you could see all the B-level and C-level superheroes Doomsday's running through, and not the rest of the Justice League. Because some of those superheroes, it's like, who?
Yeah. So anyways, we about to go off on another tangent on Superman. I
guess I'm wrong. This is me and Brett do love Superman, because we just over here talking about it.
Right. So then the next project is called The Authority, and this comes directly after Superman Legacy. And The Authority, and this is the first time I'm hearing about them. I've never heard of them before. Again, James Gunn would be the one to bring this to light. Introduces a team of superheroes with a less than idealistic approach to saving the world. They'll explore gray areas. The superheroes think the boys.
And this is a photo of The Authority.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Allegedly. So I'll keep it 100 with y'all real quick. Because I know a lot of the times Brett turns to me and I got some random knowledge about this random bullshit. The only authority I know in my nerd brain, that's this stupid, huge encyclopedia I call a forehead, is a WWE stable. That's what I know the authority is. This authority, as I know it from this, I was literally about to ask Brett, is this actually the authority, or is this the random DC photo he found that just looks right? Because that's how much I know.
Allegedly, this is it. I can't confirm that, but everybody's using this picture. So
okay, cool. So I don't know if this is actually a well-known property, besides having a couple of comics, because The Boys wasn't as well-known as it is now just a couple of years ago. And so I think it's cool that Warner Brothers is embracing that part of it, because The Boys is a satire and a parody of current politics and American politics in general. The Authority, for how I'm perceiving this to be, is a more realistic, so less than idealistic, but a more realistic response to what Superman would be. Because the Suicide Squad fucked up in that regard, the first one. Well, we need a contingency plan because there's a god on the planet. So you went and got Killer Croc? There's other people in the DC universe that was actually a contingency plan against these guys.
So apparently this guy, I don't know if you can use the mouse. This guy right here, he's basically like a darker Batman. And this guy right here is like a darker Superman. And apparently they're husbands. I think I saw something where I guess they're gay. I think I've seen that guy. The one with the halo, I think I've seen before. Yeah, I think his name is Apollo, and I don't remember. And this guy's called the Midnighter.
The Midnighter.
So And apparently their powers are like everybody on this roster, their powers are like super freaking strong. So it's like this is a Justice League that we don't want. And the way that I'm hearing that this is basically going to be constructed is the reason why they're doing this first is it's basically the blueprint for the Justice League. Because it's like, okay, this is who we don't want to be. You know what I mean? So I think this is going to be a very interesting storyline because it sounds like they're going to go
Yeah,
up against
Apollo. You're right. And his powers is based off the sun. He's a Superman archetype, but he gets his power from the sun. I couldn't remember. I've seen him before, though I didn't know Midnighter. I'm not gonna lie. And the other one kind of looks like Constantine, or the one that looks like a barefoot reverend looks like Constantine.
I know this person has lightning powers. One of them could like share thoughts or something like that. I can't remember, but they all have like really like OP powers basically.
Yeah, Midnighter. He's gay.
Yeah, and yeah, apparently Apollo's gay too.
Can't wait for all the people. Oh, everything's gotta be so PC. Gay people exist. I can't wait for that.
Right.
Oh no, they have superpowers now. Ah. Yes, I like how you saw me censor myself right there.
I was gonna say something bad too. So I was like, you know what? Let me not cancel this. We only got 50.
Yeah, we're gonna get canceled making fun of the people that hate on people. That's what we would do. That's us.
Oh,
yeah, both of us said, "Oh, we gotta stop. We gotta stop."
When
you need this vitamin D.
Didn't you miss this, ladies and gentlemen? You can't get this when it's just me on the pod. But anyway, the point is,
call me the sun god.
I really like what they're gonna do with this movie. I think there's gonna be so much that they're gonna use this. This is basically gonna be like another Suicide Squad in the vein of, I think this is gonna set up so much in terms of the lore and, are people gonna be afraid of superheroes now? Is it gonna be hard to form the Justice League because these bands of people are already doing things bad? Are they going to be the villains for the Justice League? Maybe that's why the Justice League is formed at first, because Superman can't take them all on by himself. There's so many things they can do with this. So I'm actually very, very excited about this. When I first heard about it, like, yeah, I've never heard of this group at all. I could care less. But the more and more
I'm pretty sure Apollo's in the Death of Superman run.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
I'm being serious. I'm trying to think of where I would have saw him from, and to know he's a B-list Superman guy. I'm guessing, but like you were dead right. He's married to, or he's with at least with the Midnighter, and I feel like you're right. I feel like the less than idealistic approach and kind of a gray area to the boys is Midnighter is going to act like Batman, right, and brutalize some people. And the fact that they're gay is going to be a part of that storyline, that they're bad for society or whatever, or they're forcing their shit on society, and which is going to play off real world shit. And I can already see people getting so mad at this movie for doing base level commentary, because what I just said is like low hanging fruit for a story.
Right.
It's a good element. It's easy for drama. You know what I mean? Like,
but they can X-Men it. Like, they really could, because if these guys are going around killing people, they could be that group that people probably love at first because they're getting stuff done. But then when they start crossing the line too much, or they cross the line like one bad time, like the public turns on them, and then they turn on the public. So again, I just love that commentary, because maybe that's why the Justice League, you know, that could be the whole issue with the Justice League in and of itself. Like, well, we can't form a team. You already got Superman, so now he's gonna team up with other people. Like, that's gonna be, there's so many things they can do with this. And I think that's an overlining thing that I'm excited about with all these projects. They're so ambiguous with what they can be, and I trust James Gunn to pull out the best in what all these projects will be. So that's interesting. So the next one, this is one that me and you are both very, very, very excited about. The Brave and the Bold. We're getting a new Batman, I think. We'll see. But more importantly, we're getting a Robin. And not just anyone. We're getting Damian freaking Wayne. If you don't know who Damian Wayne is, he is the latest edition of Robin, and he is actually Batman's
not the latest edition. He's Batman's son.
There's been a Robin since Damian?
You mean chronologically, or like a newer introduced Robin? Because there's a Robin that's introduced in Dark Knight Returns, the girl Robin.
Yeah, but I think Damian was even after her.
Maybe I get it after a while. These all blend in, and you just go. I just go off the.
I think as of right now again, I'm not up on my comics, but I think
I like Damian, bro.
I'll put it to you this way. I think Damian is the latest mainstream Robin. I'll put you that way. If somebody else has been introduced lately in the comics, that's still kind of like an underground thing. Damian has been the focal point of DC lately.
Bro.
So if you don't know who Damian Wayne is Bruce Wayne's son, with Talia al Ghul.
Thank you. Give her some respect. Put some respect on that name.
I was getting to that because that's the whole point. He had his baby with Talia al Ghul. He didn't know he had a son. Finds out that Damian is his son, and Damian's already like 10 or whatever, and he's been raised by the League of Assassins. So, boom, have at it. Bravo. I'm super duper excited about this. And it's very interesting because, again, when we heard that we were getting a younger Superman, we assumed we were going to get a younger Batman. But this obviously means we're getting an older Batman, because that means all the other Robins exist in this world already, which also makes me excited because it says that we're going to get introduced to the Bat family in this movie. So that means we're getting Nightwing, we're getting Red Hood, we're getting all those Robin characters that we've always wanted to see on the big screen. They already exist in this DCU, and they can pop up at any time because we know Damian's here. So this is very, 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 very exciting to me. I love Damian Wayne as a character. Everything that he's been in so far has been great, in terms of like the animated movies and stuff like that. My speculation is Ben Affleck will definitely direct this movie. Will he play it? Is this
I think you're right. He is the newest one because he was introduced in the 80s as a baby, but he wasn't Robin until 2006.
Okay. Yeah. So wow, I didn't even know
wow, that's crazy.
I didn't even know it was that long ago. I thought this was like a 2010s Robin.
Nah, man. No, that's just because the movies, the New 52 and the DC animated universe, as you know, Damian Wayne was a main character in that shit.
True. So yeah, my speculation, this is my personal speculation. I think Ben Affleck will definitely direct it. From what we've heard, the original The Batman, or I think it was called Batman Terminator, the script that Ben Affleck wrote for his Batman film that never got made. Apparently that script is phenomenal. Warner Brothers loves it. And just based on what it's about, it seems like a script that could be easily turned into this, right? Just take out some of the Deathstroke elements and put Damian Wayne.
Keep Deathstroke. Deathstroke is the perfect one.
Or yeah, keep him. Look,
because Deathstroke, this movie already exists. I forget. Was it called? It's one of the animated movies.
Yeah,
Deathstroke takes over the
Damian Wayne. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Listen, you don't have to convince me to keep Deathstroke. Let's just, I'm not arguing it's got to be one or the other. Keep both. But the point I'm making is that script, they think is phenomenal, and I can see it being tweaked just a little bit to incorporate this Damian Wayne portion of it. And again, because we know from the Snyderverse that Ben Affleck's Joker, we already knew that he at least had a Jason Todd in his universe, because we saw that beat up Robin thing that had spray painted from the Joker in it. So if Ben Affleck wanted to be Batman, he can be Batman in this universe. But I think he will at least direct, because he's talking about he just wants to direct. And James Gunn's already said that they're looking for the perfect project for him to direct. He's going to direct this. Like, I think that's not even a question. The question is he going to play the character, or are they going to find somebody else? So I'm super excited about this because Batman is my favorite superhero. And for all those people like me that have always wanted a Nightwing and Red Hood and some of those other Bat family characters, we now know they exist in this world, and they could come up in any time, maybe even in this movie. So I'm super stoked about that.
I'm excited for the whole idea of seeing a more explored Bat family. I had to look it up because it was bugging me. I was like, who the hell does Tim Drake turn into? And he turns into Red Robin.
Red Robin, yeah.
Red Robin. And honestly, between Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, Damian Wayne, and if you add in Batgirl or Oracle or both, you know what I mean? That's the family. And there's newer characters like you alluded to, the ones that came in the 2010s. Lucius Fox's son is called Darkwing or something like that.
Yep. Or Batwing.
And he's kind of like an Iron Man.
I think it's Batwing.
Batwing, sure. But that's my point. Yeah, that's the newest one. And I was like, he's technically not a Robin though. I'm with it, man. Seeing Damian, the casting of Damian Wayne is more important than the casting of Batman.
Yeah,
because you could make or break a show off casting these dudes. Like as we know with Titans, at like me and you both were like, I don't know if I would have casted Jorah as Batman, but that show would have sucked if you don't like, because I didn't finish it. I'll admit that, but I watched the whole first season or two. And that show would have been unwatchable if Nightwing and Jason Todd didn't act like Nightwing and Jason Todd.
Yeah, that's true.
So with Damian Wayne, I feel like everything you said, bro. Let me just echo that. Deathstroke, keep that. Ben Affleck directs it. If he's not starring in it, who cares? But him directing it with a Deathstroke as the main antagonist with the League of Assassins, an older grizzled Batman, because he's a veteran Batman when he gets Damian. Period. Like Nightwing's grown.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We went through all the other Robins. That's the point. So this is definitely an older, more grizzled Batman who's reconciling his time as a father, and it also brings into the question of like, yo, is this ethically or morally right that you keep bringing in these kids and having them fight psychopaths every night? You know what I mean? So that's another question. How old do they make Damian in this movie? Because the concept of Robin in and of itself probably doesn't even fit today's standards of like, you know, like, wow, wait a minute. Like, let's think about this. Why do you have a 10-year-old running around with you, you know, dodging bullets, bro? Like, that's not okay.
Even if he was aged up to 13 or 14, the craziest part about Damian is he's the killer.
Right.
Like he has to get calmed down because he doesn't understand.
By the way, James Gunn says Damian's my favorite Robin because he's a little son of a bitch and he's an assassin and a murderer, and we love it. So they're definitely going to make Damian a badass. It's just a matter of like, do they go the kid actor route or do they age him up just a little bit so to stop any type of controversies or whatever? But I'm super duper excited about that movie.
One of the best parts about Damian is who he is. Like Nightwing, like one of the best parts of the animated universe was the relationship between him and his brother. Mm-hmm. Him and Nightwing's relationship, to the point where, spoilers for the next 30 seconds if you didn't go through it, but when Darkseid happens and Nightwing is like killed or infected or whatever, Damian is completely distraught about it, feels guilt over it and all that shit. And he's completely jaded and ready to kill everybody.
Yeah, and that's like the only time you see. That's like the only time you see him like act like that. Yeah, like they have that legit older brother, younger brother relationship where he was like too cool for Nightwing, but then when he's gone, he's like, oh wait, my brother's gone. You know what I mean? Like one of those things. I'm all for it. The next one is Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow. I'm actually kind of interested in this too because of the storyline. The film tells the story of Superman's cousin, Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, but this will be a much more hardcore version of the character. It follows a specific run of comics in which this Supergirl doesn't come to Earth directly. She actually grows up on a chunk of Krypton that's floating in space, and everybody that she's ever loved dies like a gruesome death at some point as she's growing up. So by the time she gets to Earth, she's not the bubbly, you know, Supergirl, more sunshine than even Superman version that we know her to be. She's much more jaded. She's much more, you know, hostile and stuff like that. So I love that idea of now Superman's dealing with somebody like him, but doesn't see humanity the way he does, because she's seen some bad shit and she didn't have loving parents and all this other stuff that he had. She had to rough it out basically. And now again, for people that don't know, they don't get their powers till under a yellow sun. So now she has power to fight back. So just imagine what that does to her mind. I'm all for this movie. This movie's
I
gonna be
think this
amazing.
was alluded to in the Man of Steel because there was an open like crash pod in the Fortress of Solitude, wasn't there? That was never really paid off of in Justice League. So I feel like Snyder was even trying to allude to there's another one out there, which I think became the Supergirl air quotes. That's either going to be in the Flash and or was teased in one of the many properties they put out in the last 10 years.
So there is a Supergirl in the Flash. We don't know if it's going to be the same. We don't know if they're going to continue with that actress or not. If she's going to continue to be Supergirl, they're going to get somebody else. We don't know how she's going to be in the Flash. Obviously, the Flash hasn't come out yet, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited about this. This sounds like something that is right up my alley. And again, I'm sensing a theme with all these movies, and I'll get to that towards the end. But I'm very excited about the slate so far. And here's another one, Lanterns, man. Like, come on. This is going to be a series. This
wasn't his idea. I remember me and you talked about this a couple of years ago. Like they had an idea for a buddy cop idea for the Green Lantern.
This is going to be different. So this is replacing that show. Like they said, like this is replacing that show altogether. And the idea for that show was different from this. So the idea for that show was going to be like focusing on like all the lanterns. So like every episode was going to be a different lantern. This is strictly just Hal and John Stewart. They said some of the other ones will pop up, but it's strictly those two. And it's a true detective style show. HBO high level quality, and which they're mostly on Earth, not in space. The other one's going to be all in space and all this other stuff. They're mostly on Earth, but they're going to follow a mystery that's going to tie into a major plot point for the DCU. And again, probably something that will ultimately force them to form the Justice League.
Dark side. It's dark side.
Right. It could be that. Yeah, it's probably the aftermath equation.
I'm going to let everyone know. They're going to find this mother boxes. It's those fucking cicada assholes. That's what they're looking up because they don't understand. That's my guess.
My other guess is Lobo. We'll get to.
Oh shit! You done said Lobo.
Right. We'll get to Jason Momoa in a later slide, but
bro, my dad, bro, he's gonna see this like really because I remember him getting comics. He thought Lobo. He was like, "This is not for kids." And I just remember him putting a Lobo comic back, and him looking at it just sound like kind of like rolling his eyes at the 90s in general when he saw that like I had Spawn or like Lobo or Punisher or all these 90s comics. If Lobo is the effing guy in this show, I just know I'm old. That's what that means. I just know I'm middle-aged. Like the world is going to pass me by soon because I can't believe we're even talking about the possibility of Lobo, not in an animated form and not like Harley Quinn, like the animated Harley Quinn show. You know what I mean? Right. That's how ridiculous Lobo is to me. But
he's the main man. He's the main man. But yeah, I'm super excited about this. John Stewart is one of my favorite superheroes. He's one of the characters growing up that made me really become a superhero fan.
He's your Green Lantern, right?
Yeah, he's my Green Lantern for sure. For all you assholes out here that don't understand when we say representation matters, this is what we're talking about. Like when we talk about white privilege and stuff like that, it's easy. It's not. I understand how you guys don't get it if you see yourself on TV and in movies all the time. For somebody who is a minority or of any kind, right? When you don't see yourself on TV or on the big screen like that, it's a big deal when you do.
But to be fair, a lot of white boys that we know that didn't get that whole thing the last couple of years, a lot of them were because they were like, one, my Green Lantern's been black my whole life. Like if they're 3 years younger than me and a white boy that only knows it through this, their Green Lantern's black and Cyborg's in the Justice League to them. Those two superheroes that are black.
Yeah, and Static Shock, like Cyborg, John Stewart, and Static Shock. Those are like my big three, and that's what. And again,
I just know some white boy conservatives that were mad when Black Panther was getting all these firsts. Like they were like, first what? Like they were just like because plenty of people only know they were mad when Ryan Reynolds was cast because they were like, Green Lantern's not white.
Right, right. We are the generation. Like, who's this white guy? Wait a minute, they're whitewashing Green Lantern.
And a bunch of older Gen Xers were like, "The fuck."
What are you talking about? But that's the beauty of representation. Like everybody, and to your point, there are a lot of white people say, "Well, no, listen, white, black, whatever. John Stewart's just a badass, and we grew up with him. That's our Green Lantern, and so that's why. I mean,
and Blade. We and you always forget Blade, but there's a whole generation that was not accepting Black Panther because they're like, Blade exists, assholes. Like, give Wesley his props.
Right. And again, that's why Black Panther was such a cultural phenomenon, because that stuff matters. And so I like the
what was John Stewart's job? Like, what was his alter ego?
He was ex-military.
He was ex-military. Okay. I don't remember. I was never super into Green Lanterns like that. I think they're cool. I think
his job was just being a badass. That's what his job was.
Like I'm so hit or miss when it comes to like everybody outside the holy trinity of the Justice League. Like, I will check it out, but I'm not like digging for it. So, but I was also disappointed with the Ryan Reynolds movie, just because if you're going to build a cinematic universe, the Lanterns are right there, man. Like, they're right there. Like, the amount of villains that can come from
this. That's another reason why I said Lobo might be in this, because Lobo is a Lantern villain as well as a Superman villain. So that could be something that they explore.
It could be anything. Anything with outer space could be a Lantern villain. Right. Like in the context of this show. Like, let's be real. It could be Doomsday. Like, I'm going for Darkseid because I want to be that fan that gets Darkseid again. But let's be real. If they're building towards the DCU like that, like, Darkseid could have landed on Earth and he's just dormant. And they're just like, oh shit. Like, what is this group trying to wake up? Because like, that's the level of type of threats the Green Lanterns are supposed to be dealing with, or Brainiac, or anybody else. There's so many villains that we just don't get,
and it's gonna be amazing. So I'm super excited, and the fact, and we'll see this with a theme too when they keep referencing other like HBO shows. I think that they're like, look, if we're gonna do this on HBO Max, like, give us all the money in the world because we want this to be high quality crap like this.
So, especially after House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
And you haven't watched it yet, but like The Last of Us I'm shocked 3 episodes in at the time of recording how good this is. Because the game is good and everyone says like, oh, you just turn that into a movie. So when they said the show, okay. And when the other day off wax, you said you likened it to like The Walking Dead. And granted, the first couple seasons of Walking Dead, I'll stand by. They're good. But Walking Dead as a show is not in the same tier as HBO shows are. So to compare it to Walking Dead's misleading, because 3 episodes in, and the 3rd episode, not spoiler, not really, is more standalone-ish than the first 2 were. And that alone, when it just shows you cast right and fund the set piece, HBO could figure it out. You saw it with House of the Dragon. I read that book. You were coming to me for like more of the what do they skip over, just kind of yada yada over little factoids, which also could be spoilers because thematically they could just show you some shit later down the road. But if HBO just believes in something and casts it right, it's usually a hit. There's not too many HBO shows that people don't like.
I mean, HBO prides itself on being the creme de la creme of TV. Like, that's always been their MO. So the fact, and to be honest with you, I think when they go to a guy like James Gunn and Peter Safran, the reason why they picked them is because, look, we trust you with this IP. If you have an idea for a show, we will give you what it takes to make it right. We got to trust you to make it right. And Peacemaker was great. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Peacemaker ain't have no damn business being that good either.
Right. Peacemaker had no business. So when I hear this, true crime in space with fucking Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, yes.
No, less so than that. It says that, and Gunn promises it to be, quote, huge HBO quality.
Yeah, come on. I'm done. I'm already a subscriber, but take my money. Like,
because that was my issue with Titans. Titans is good. Titans is not a bad show.
But you know what else, though? Titans is not an HBO show. It's on HBO Max now. It was a DC Universe show before HBO Max basically just absorbed that streaming service.
No, 100%. And Titans looks like a very good CW show. And no shade to CW. I like the first 2 seasons of Arrow. I'm not throwing shade at TV like that, but there's a quality, there's a whole tier.
Yes,
there's a whole tier difference between HBO and TV.
There's like a 5-tier difference.
And again, me and you, our biggest issues with Titans is literally what we're saying, we're praising about HBO is if you don't have the budget to do it, don't do it. Because what you like Teen Titans way more than me. The whole Raven storyline you can do. You didn't have to show her dad if you don't have the budget to show her dad.
Right.
That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm the type of person like I can look past bad CGI because I know how expensive that shit is. So I still watch Titans. I still enjoy it. I understand why people fell off of it. I still enjoy it because I know what I know what it is. This and to be very honest with you, because of a show like Titans, when they first announced that Green Lantern show, I'm like, how are they going to do that? That's going to cost $1 billion to make. This, yeah, I'm there. I am so there.
Even though I can watch Starfire and anything, I'm just throwing that out there.
True. And matter of fact, this I'm so excited for. If you aren't a HBO Max subscriber by the time it comes out, I'm going to punch you in the face because if I get a notification saying that they're canceling it because it's too expensive and not enough people are subscribing, I will hunt all of you down.
I can't imagine HBO Max is going anywhere now.
Oh, it's not. No, I'm talking about just the show. If they say, oh, we love the show, it's critically acclaimed and everything else, but it's just too expensive to make, and we're not getting enough subscribers, because of it. Because I mean, this is going to be a very expensive show. If they're using their powers, unless it's way more detective work than Green Lantern work, and they're not using their powers at all, or like once during an episode, this is going to be a very expensive show. That's a lot of CGI you're going to have to use, but. We'll see.
Or you don't, word to the wise, you don't got to CG the suit. Like,
oh god,
that looks even worse in retrospect because the more we know now as the common person about how expensive this shit is, whose idea was the CG suit? Like it's so fucking stupid. But anyway, this one, this is animated. See, yeah. This one I skimmed over because kind of like for the most part, DC don't mess with animation. Mm-hmm. So like I'm not most excited for it because I check out almost anything DC animated just because they don't miss. Even if it's not for me necessarily, it's not bad. It's never bad.
Yeah, here's something I really do. What I'm actually very excited about. This is one of those shows that's going to come before Superman Legacy, which I guess makes sense because the timeline of this is like supposed to be back in like the olden days because it's like Frankenstein monster and stuff like that. What they're going to do is they're going to have big time actors play these characters because they will appear in live action at some point. And they want the same actors to be playing them in live action. So that's cool. I've always thought that's a good way to do it. Blend animation with live action where it had. Because, again, these shows are expensive. And some of these superhero shows, like, it doesn't make sense to do it in live action because, again, if you don't have the budget to do it right, don't do it. So a show like this, make this show animated. If you need the character to pop to do a quick cameo and something, that's way less expensive to do that than to do a whole live action show with these characters.
And the boys did it.
Right.
They had a little animated anthology show. And with the last one being the only one confirmed to be canon, and they showed a whole flashback of Homelander that is canon. It's referenced in the main show. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why I always laugh when you say it because you're not wrong, but like so people don't get confused. It's like, like, are you paying attention? Like, what are you doing if when you sit down to play? Because we have so much options now. It's not like everybody's only watching shit because it's the only thing that's on, right? You choose to watch this shit. Like you have to go out of your way to make sure you watch anything now. So how confused can you possibly be to find comic book shit? Like that's just me though. That's just me.
Well, I mean, that's true, but we're also more in tune with it. A lot of people do get confused. Again, that's why I think the Elseworld thing is a good idea because they were making a good point of John Campia's show. There are a lot of people that stop watching these comic book movies because it's like, bro, it's too much. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen that. I don't want to feel lost watching this movie. If you have these Elseworld projects, it's like, hey, you don't have to watch anything else. You could just watch this and enjoy this. Cool. There'll be some people that just watch the Batman and that's it, because it's like, hey, that's 1-2 movies in a show, and that's it. I don't need to watch the DCU because I'm not trying to watch the Creature Commandos to understand what's going on. You know what I mean? So
no, I think it's funny because now, like, we'll get into this on a different pod that's coming up, but the newest phase of the MCU did this. Like, let's be real, people weren't upset they had to binge watch the first couple of phases. So it's just funny to hear, oh, there's just so much, and I don't want to keep up with all of it. The irony is, me and you, spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler. The biggest complaint we've had of the last phase of the MCU is you didn't have to watch most of this shit. like none, like Eternals wasn't referenced, so it's all connected. But is it? Is it? So like, I feel like it's less about, oh, I'm going to be lost in this world, and just we, the universal we of the community, we're sick of getting fed bullshit like it's part of some grand plan when you're just marketing the next shit to us.
Right.
Like, I didn't like the Hawkeye show because I didn't know they were trying to set up a whole nother show until you told me, oh no, there's 2 other shows they have ideas for with this side character and this side character. And it's me, the nerd that's talking nerd shit with my other nerd friend, that's saying, I don't give a fuck about that. Think about that. Like, me and you are the target audience, and me and you could give 2 shits about whatever that Hawkeye set up, and you like Hawkeye more than me. And you don't even remember what that set up.
No, Echo and Young Avengers.
Obviously. See, who cares about Echo? Unless you're Echo's family, who cares about Echo? Not a damn person, bro. Like, and you can be like, oh, Peacemaker was good. Yes, Peacemaker was good because John Cena is entertaining in anything he does. Let's be real. That show was great.
And the Suicide Squad wasn't setting up Peacemaker. It was a movie that they just decided to spin off. That's 2 different things.
Because they had John effing Cena.
Right. And
there's plenty of movies. I love Terminator. Love Terminator. Love more than just 2 Terminator movies. For those that know that there's a bunch of them, I like at least 3 or 4 Terminator movies. With that being said, Terminator wouldn't be shit without Arnold Schwarzenegger in those first 2 movies. No one would care. It'd just be some obscure nerd sci-fi movie without that. Just like Peacemaker is some obscure D-level character in DC. Ain't nobody ever heard of Peacemaker before John Cena was cast as him. So good on them. But to that point, this is exactly the type of shit DC is good at. Animated, obscure shit. Give me a series, give me a movie, I don't care.
Yeah, this will be.
There's more John Constantine fans now than there was when Keanu dropped the movie.
Right.
Why? Because there's been a couple animated movies with him in it, animated Justice League Dark movies. Constantine's like, and people are like my wife. She's like, I kind of like Constantine. I want more Constantine. I was like, oh, did you ever see the Keanu movie? It's like, you're playing with me. There's no Keanu movie with John Constantine. I'm like, yeah, there is. It came out like 15 years ago. She's like, no, it didn't. I would have watched that. I was like, no, it did, man. Like, that's how crazy it is to hear perceptions change, because not only is Keanu Reeves this name that everyone loves now, more so, like, no, people didn't hate him, but like, people just check for anything he does now because of John Wick and The Matrix.
Right.
When he did Constantine, no one gave a shit. And if it were to come out now,
well, I'm about to say, if you were to say now that Keanu Reeves is playing John Constantine, that would probably make $1 billion.
I'm surprised, to be honest with you. That's the one that I thought I was going to see that I didn't see. I thought I was going to see Keanu returning as Constantine in the Slate.
Oh, don't worry, we're getting to that.
No, I'm not even joking. I know that's in the works, like at least in like a negotiation phase, at least. But I thought they would be not leading with it, but low key leading with it.
Oh, like, they're going to get to that. Remember, like I said, I don't think we have all the projects yet. These are just the projects that he was ready to give us right now. Because I think,
I thought, I'm not joking. I thought Keanu, Constantine, soft requel, a reboot sequel, as you will. Like, I thought that was going to be. I thought that would have been one of the first projects. They're like, we're listening to the fans. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that would have been the bone.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Well, but let me finish this one. So this is basically Suicide Squad, but just like set back in time.
It's Suicide Squad with extra steps.
Right. It's comprised of Nina. I'm not going to try to say that last name.
Mazursky.
There you go. Dr. Phosphorus, Eric Frankenstein.
Phosphorus, fine. Mazursky, nah, no chance. Okay.
Well, I've heard of that. That's an element. That's on the
The
periodic.
human brain is a very weird thing at the end of the day.
that's been on the periodic table. I've gotten that. I've gotten that wrong.
My boy said periodic table, but Mazursky escaped him. Human brains, people. We can't make this up. We're weird. We're weird creatures. We're weird creatures.
Eric
I
Frankenstein.
can't change my oil, so I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like,
the Bride of Frankenstein, the GI Robot, and Rick Flag from the Suicide Squad's father, Rick Flag Sr., as well as Weasel from Suicide Squad, because James Gunn has to cast his brother. Good for him, giving his brother.
I always forget that's his brother. Until you said, I was like, yo, that's fucked up. Why'd you say that's his brother? I'm like, oh wait, no, it was his brother.
No, yeah, his brother plays Weasel.
His brother plays one of the best side characters in Guardians of the Galaxy. I did not know that was James Gunn's brother until you said that before the Suicide Squad came out.
I didn't know that either until the Suicide Squad. It was like, oh yeah, that's his brother. I'm like, oh, that's why he's in there. Okay. And good for him, because I would do the same thing. Like, yo, bro, you want to play like some ridiculous character that everybody's just gonna love because you're just funny and not doing shit?
He killed a school full of children.
Exactly. My brother, but yeah, why not? I was like, yeah, here, go tell the studio you want money. Go. But yeah, so, and like I said before, it's going to be animated, but they're probably going to get big time actors to be playing the characters because he wants at least some of them, Weasel, to be popping up in other movies and stuff. So with those same actors. And yeah, it'll be appearing before Superman Legacy. So obviously before June 11, 2025.
And I will watch this with my wife, and I'll probably be the one doing the review on this channel, not Brett, or with Brett. But
I'll definitely watch this. I love anything animated, so I'm good.
Yeah, but you're weird when it comes to like air quotes on horror, because like horror is like saying comic.
I don't think this is going to be horror. I think this is going to be like I think this is going to be more comedy than anything else.
No, but that's why I said to you about you calling The Last of Us a zombie movie. That's as broad of a stroke now as saying that's a comic book show. What comic book? That's like, you know what I mean? Because like to call The Last of Us a zombie flick is just like calling this horror, because it's not wrong, but it's like
it's not right either.
Yeah, it's like saying drama. It's like, okay, but like, what kind of movie is it? Drama. What kind of drama? A dramatic drama. All right, thanks.
But yeah, so I'm actually excited about this. I'm gonna check this out. And knowing the way this is probably gonna be like an adult animated show too. So
hard to tell. Well, Weasel's in it, so yeah.
Well, no, just because HBO Max is basically like Warner Brothers has basically said we're not doing kids animation on HBO Max anymore.
What the hell were they well, just to be fair to them, the last 12 years they haven't done that. Since New 52 came out in 2010, 2011.
No, I'm not talking about DC. I'm talking about Warner Brothers as a whole. So like anything.
Oh, my bad. I misheard you.
Yeah,
I misheard you because I was like, DC ain't gave a shit about kids.
Well, no, yeah. So like Looney Tunes stuff is getting sold right now. Like everything's getting sold. That's like
smart. That's smart, man. Sell Looney Tunes to like Fox to let them show it on Saturday morning. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be real. Like that's
oh no. They're keeping them. But what they're going to do is instead of putting on HBO Max, they'll say, "Hey, Hulu, do you want this?"
No, that's what I mean. Sell the rights to somewhere else. That's genius for them.
Yeah, and it'll just be distribution. So it'll still be a W animated. Like they're going to make them. They're still going to produce them, but they won't air it on HBO Max. They'll air it on other platforms.
Real quick before you go to the next one, out of my ass, shot in the dark prediction. Warner Brothers, Hulu's a great guess. I think it goes to either Netflix or Paramount.
What are you talking about? Looney Tunes?
One of those properties, one of those classic properties.
I don't know if it'll go to Paramount because Paramount's already Nickelodeon, so I don't know if they would want Looney Tunes there. I don't know.
And that could be a power move for Paramount. No, sorry for the alliteration.
That's a very good point. And speaking of the abnormal and the horror and everything else, Swamp Thing.
It's like a mid Elseworlds. You fucking disrespectful. You really wrote it's like a mid. I got there and I was like, the disrespect.
Where where I say mid?
It's like a mid Elseworlds film.
Oh no, mid else. I didn't mean mid like that.
No, Swamp Thing's so fucking mid.
You know what's crazy? This is how I know I'm getting old, because I keep forgetting that's how people use the word mid now. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, there's a couple of slang words I've given up with the baby going on YouTube and seeing some slang. I have no idea what it is. I'm like, oh, I'm here. I'm fucking here in life. I'm just, it's crazy. Like, I'm not going to say it because I don't feel like dating myself and putting that shit on the internet for perpetuity reasons. But I'm with you, because the first couple times I heard mid, I was just like, who got the dirt weed? And I was like, oh, that's not what they mean. Oh, okay. That happened with lit. That happened with lit and cap in my lifetime. I heard somebody use lit in a different way one time, and they were like, oh no, it means lit, And I'm like, yo, lit means lit. What the fuck are you talking about? And then with cap, when somebody's like, oh, that's capping. And I was just like, yo, this is like, why is this making a comeback? Like, it is such a random slang that was never that big.
We're those guys now. Hello, fellow kids. Like, we're those guys. So it's
there you go. Let the mortality hit you real quick. Go ahead. Welcome to your 30s, bitch. Like
a middle ground. That's what I use mid for. It's a middle ground Elseworlds film, because it's supposed to look for what
fucking you're saying, mid film.
I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't disrespect it. But it's supposed to be like a standalone film, but at the same time still kind of ties in with everything else. And I guess Swamp Thing itself will pop up in other projects as well. So that's what I meant by mid. It's like, it's kind of Elseworlds, but it's kind of not. It's connected, but it's kind of not. It's weird. But
DC could have a lot of fun. Sorry to cut you off, but with Swamp Thing, like, you could use Swamp Thing and like the last slide and all the publicly available for public use type of movie monsters. That could be its own thing that DC uses.
And I think that's what they're going to use Swamp Thing for, to introduce that realm of it. And that's why I'm about to say with Constantine, I think Constantine's definitely going to be part of this. Like,
because Swamp Thing, me and you didn't check out they had one episode and then they got canceled.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Like, and from what I saw, it didn't look. I thought it was going to look like trash.
Wow.
And what I remember, it didn't look that bad.
Actually, the whole season did come out, but we knew after the first episode that it was getting canceled. So, like, a lot of people didn't watch it. From what I heard, that first season was actually really good.
Yeah, I didn't hear bad fan reviews. I just heard it got canceled.
Well, it got canceled.
And honestly, when it comes to horror, they got all the tools, man. Like, they can make a Teen Titans movie that's a horror movie just based off Raven.
Yeah, like, I mean. From what I heard, it got canceled because of some political stuff in North Carolina where they were filming and stuff like that. So, yeah, there was a whole thing. It wasn't even like the studio canceled it. It was more like, okay, well, we thought we had the resources to make it. Now we don't. So we might as well just cancel it. Whatever. But yeah, I think my speculation is James Wan will direct this. James Wan now has that deal with Blumhouse. James Wan and Peter Safran are good buddies, because Peter Safran produces James Wan's Aquaman 1 and Aquaman 2 film. So I think this is definitely going to be his baby. They're going to let him do what he wants to do with it, which is why I think it's also going to be this, middle ground Elseworld films, because I think they're going to let James Wan do whatever the hell he wants to do with it and tell him it doesn't have to necessarily tie in with anything else. You make your baby. This will be your passion project. Do what you want to do with it. And if there's a way we can connect it, we'll connect it. So I think that's what they're going to do with it. And I'm actually excited about it because, again, this is going to be their introduction to the supernatural, along with what was the other one called? The Creature Commandos. Again, another group I've never heard about until yesterday. So
yeah, never heard.
This is one I'm actually super excited about as well. We talked about this on our last pod about how if they were doing a total reboot but wanted to bring back John Cena, I thought he would be a perfect Booster Gold.
You said that, dude. And let me say, I know I said something like, what fucking world are we living in that we're getting a Booster Gold show? And I'm still there. Like, I like the fan that's me that The fuck is this? Like I don't have anything to contribute to this part because if it is a comedy, that's what it's made for. Like, you know, like you could definitely do a comedy. This is what I'm gonna check it out. I know I would be lying to you guys if I said I'm not gonna check it out.
I know this is gonna be hilarious.
But I'm with you. Like, just cast Cena. Cast Cena. Like, you need somebody that looks like they can kick your ass, but isn't like, it's fucked up because after how The Rock handled Black Adam and the stuff that you were talking to me, I don't know if you even did a pod about it because you vented to me for 40 minutes about it. but with all his, like, you know, ego behind the scenes, which is, you know, fine. You become the world's biggest movie star. I'm sure you have an ego about it, but you usually he's the type that would have the comedic timing and ability to make fun of himself. Like, him and Kevin Hart work for that reason, right? Like, that's the type of guy you need to be Booster Gold, or you need to get like just somebody that's funny, like our dude from Horrible Bosses. That's like, he's too old now, but that's in everything.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. It's gonna bug the hell out of me.
Or Jason Sudeikis. Yeah.
No, not Jason. Not Jason Sudeikis. Not Jason Sudeikis or Charlie Day. The third dude that was in Arrested Development. It's gonna bug the hell out of me.
Oh yeah. I love him. Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman. Thank you. I was looking it up. It was gonna bug the hell out of me. He's great. That dude's hilarious.
He would actually be a good Booster Gold. He looks like
that's Booster Gold in my head. How he acts, like, to be a sarcastic dude.
His hair blonde, he's Booster Gold. Absolutely.
And again, you know what's messed up? He played a marketing dude in the Will Smith movie where he was a superhero.
Oh yeah, Hancock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why my brain's going there. But this is man. This is one we got to see because it's kind of like Peacemaker. We're not going to add anything that hasn't been said already.
That's why I said think Peacemaker. This is going to be hilarious. As long as they play somebody funny to play him. John Campea show Rob made a good point about, and this was like way before we knew about the slate. He was like, I fully expect Plastic Man to be in this universe because that's the type of character James Gunn would love to do. Instead of Plastic Man, we got Booster Gold. So, you know what I mean? Like, and it's funny. Like I said, I said on that last pod that we talked about, I said John Cena would be a great Booster Gold if they were trying to bring the character back. So, you know, that's awesome.
I think talking to you years ago now, it finally clicked on me that I'm supposed to not like him because I just always not liked him. And you explained to me like, no, you're not supposed to like him. It was like that went over my head as a child. That he wasn't supposed to be a likable superhero. Like, I was actually just like, I fucking hate this guy so much. And you're like, yeah, that's how you're supposed to feel. And I was like, oh, right. I guess that is how I'm supposed to feel. Like, damn me reading not just taking surface level. Like, why do they keep this guy around?
It's insane. It's insane. But yeah, that's gonna be funny. I'm very.
He's Iron Man.
No, he's not. That's the point. You know, so Booster Gold in his, because he's from the future, right?
He's from the future?
Yeah. So the whole point of Booster Gold is he's a loser. He's a loser from the future. He's like a high school dropout. Like, he was a football star, at least in his mind. At least that's what he claims to be. But nobody likes him. He's a loser. So what he did was, you know, he has his future, like even his uniform. Even his superhero costume, I think that's just his football uniform from his, you know, because again, in the future, you just wear different stuff and everything looks, you know, futuristic. So there was a time machine at a museum and he just used it to go back to the past. And now he moonlights as a superhero because he looks like a superhero to us because he has all this fancy stuff on and these fancy gadgets with him. But in his reality, he ain't shit. So that's like if you know, I told you before, like, oh man, me and you, if we went back in time, we could bought the freaking Giants and Steelers because that's how cheap it was back then. That's like if we found a time machine, it's like, yeah, do you want to go back to the 20s and just like run shit? Because we're broke in this timeline. But back then we be rich. You know what I mean? Like, so
born poor in the 25th century Gotham City.
Yeah. So that's the whole point of Booster Gold. He's a complete loser in the future. So he goes back to the past, to try to make himself likable. And what he
Yeah,
doesn't
he
realize,
stole a bunch of shit from a museum and then went back in time.
yeah, and that's the joke, is he's still unlikable because people like can see he's a fraud. They don't know he's a loser in the future from the future, but like he's a loser here too. But because he's a quote unquote superhero, he at least believes he's cool now. So that's the
Yeah,
whole
his
joke.
nickname was Booster as like playing football, but his chosen 20th century superhero was Gold Star. After saving the president, he mangled the two names, causing President Ronald Reagan to introduce him as Booster Gold.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people call him Buster in the comics.
Yep. So that's the whole. Yeah, this is gonna be
What a
hilarious.
ridiculous premise.
And the creators probably making millions of dollars. You gotta love
I
it.
mean, no, it's a good. No, I mean, like, it's a good premise. But I'm saying, like, what a ridiculous fucking thing, and we're gonna be watching.
It's gonna be hilarious, and again, it's gonna be HBO Max series, so it's probably gonna be like an adult comedy. This is gonna be hilarious. I'm sure Peacemaker will make an appearance in this as well. Like, this is gonna be hilarious.
Batman's a pussy.
Yeah. Peacemaker's gonna be the one saying Batman's a pussy, and Booster goes like, "Oh, don't talk about him. That's my best friend. We go way back. I go to Batcave all the time." Really? Who's Batman? Who is he? He's. I can't tell you because he tells me all the time. I don't want to, reveal his secrets to you. Like, that's the type of banter that's gonna happen.
Yeah, me as a kid hated reading that type of. I was like, I don't like this guy. I just don't like him. He's so whack.
And then that's the ironic part. Then you have Plastic Man, who doesn't even realize how strong he is. He's just just an idiot, and a try hard that or somebody who tries really hard but just keeps messing up. But he's the one Batman fears the most, because it's like, yo, he could kill us all if he wanted to. Like, so again, I hope Plastic Man makes an appearance as well, because I think that would be a great setup. But anyway, speaking of Peacemaker, Amanda Waller is getting her own show. Viola Davis is coming back. This is going to take place after the events of Peacemaker season 1. This will also air before Superman Legacy, so I'm sure there will be some things in there that set up some stuff in the DCU as well. By the way, Peacemaker season 2 has been on delay. That was another announcement yesterday, because he's writing the Superman movie, and he's writing, I think not this show. There's another show he's writing. So he's doing a bunch of stuff right now, which is why Peacemaker season 2 is on delay. But that's okay. But Viola Davis is returning. Basically, everybody's returning except for one person, and we'll get to that. I'll get to that later. But I think this is going to be good. Jeremy Carver, the creator of Doom Patrol, which is another really good show on HBO Max, he will executive produce it. And Crystal Henry, who wrote HBO's Watchmen, that's limited series, which was also really good. She'll write it. I think it's going to be a really good show. Obviously, Viola Davis is awesome in everything she does. This is going to be cool. And this will also air before Superman Legacy, so probably sometime early 2025. So cool.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
Viola Davis, Waller, she's a great casting. I feel like this is going to be a limited series. I don't see this, you're talking about the 3rd season of Waller. So
yeah, it's probably one of those, they'll write it for a first season, for one season. If the demand is there, maybe they'll try another season. But
yeah, who knows? Maybe this turns into like the most fucked up cop show we ever watched. Weirder things have happened.
It could be.
The Simpsons started out on a sketch comedy show. So who knows? That's all I'm saying.
Shit, Pokemon was only supposed to be those first 2 regions, and then they're like, well, we can't stop now. And that, what I mean? Like, it was only supposed to be a couple hundred Pokemon. Now we just crossed over 1,000. So just take that into consideration. This is another show that I'm
excited for this one.
Paradise Lost, described as basically Game of Thrones, just in the DC universe. Takes place on the Mascara at a time way before the birth of Wonder Woman. It's going to explore a lot of political stuff, a lot of culture, history, society. Basically, how did this island of all women come to be? some of the political powers are going to fight for control over it, fight for, I guess, their relationship with the outside world. Obviously, it's very tied to the gods and stuff like that. So how many of those, how the mythology of it all, how that come into play. There's a lot of things they could do with this show. Super duper excited about that as well. Yeah, this show to me has, so again, the running theme that I like about a lot of these shows and movies is there's so much potential and there's so many ways they could go about doing it. And it's one of those things like that you almost can't go wrong with how the direction that they go with it. So
bro, you mix fantasy, history, and politics, and I watch it. So
right.
Like
so
we could have did a whole pod off of you telling me they're making a Game of Thrones style DC prequel show about Wonder Woman. I would have said yes. That's what I would have said. So like just in what we saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League alone, and then mixture with the Wonder Woman movie, like there's enough there where the Greek history is deep, man. Like a lot of people think they know about these topics until you talk to somebody that actually knows about this topic, myself included. I don't know shit. I just know more than the average schmuck walking down the street. I don't know shit compared to an historian that looks into an antiquity like that. So when I say I like this stuff, I just like this stuff. I look up this stuff, ask Brett. I look up some random history stuff and I say random things to him all the time. And when it comes to this, just the mythology it's based off of alone, it could be 9 seasons long if it's a hit.
This is a show they could do forever. You know what I mean? Like this is a show they could probably do. Unlike Waller, will probably be like a 1-2 seasons max. This is probably could be a show if it's good enough and the people keep coming back to watch it. Because again, it depends on, especially if they go way before Wonder Woman, you could probably get 4 or 5 seasons in before Wonder Woman is even born. You know what I mean? Like
not even Wonder Woman could be born in the last episode.
Right.
Like Gotham. I haven't checked out Gotham. I've heard good things about Gotham, right? And most of it is based off of like the ending was good, but the show found its footing after a certain point. And I feel like this is going to take everything they learned from Gotham and use it the correct way.
I like Gotham a lot too. Gotham was a really good show. And
I haven't watched it. I just heard I heard enough people go to me like, you should binge it. It's a good binge.
No, it's a very good show.
When you for an HBO property to reference another HBO property, think about this. It's not like when True Detective came out. They were like, "Yo, we're going to be better than Oz." It's not like or The Wire or something, So to say it's going to be Game of Thrones style, mind you, thank God House of the Dragon came out because Game of Thrones was dead to the casual fan because of season 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel good as a song. Like I don't know if y'all can see it up here. Hold on, that's all A Song of Ice and Fire right there in my bookshelf. So that means a lot, and I hope they just use it right because a lot of the politics that Game of Thrones takes is from the medieval period in Europe to medieval to like a couple centuries ago, when the politics of like even older than that of ancient Greece, of the Bronze Age, there's so many stories from there that if you just live from history, we got 5 seasons. You can have 5 seasons if you just cast it right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This could go on forever if they want.
I like Game of Thrones ripoff shows. Give me more Game of Thrones ripoff shows. I like The Last Kingdom on Netflix, BBC, depending on where you are on this planet. Like, I like that show. There's tons of people that like Vikings and tell me to watch Vikings. So like, there's obviously a market for this that's outside of the regular comic book nerd market. And ironically, this gives me better vibes than, say, Superwoman does or Supergirl does, because they fall into the trap that Captain Marvel fell into, where they're doing girl power stuff for the sake of doing girl power stuff instead of writing a strong female character.
Right. And
that's exactly what we liked about the first Wonder Woman movie. We didn't have to get told she was a strong female lead. She just was. And she wasn't a, what's this the term? She wasn't a Mary Sue where things just happened to her and she's just perfect at everything. So to see the world she comes from, where they're just breeding these warriors like that, one after another, and a world of mythical gods. Because if like you guys heard me talk about the Snyder Cut before, the flashback scene with Darkseid when he's going up against Zeus and Apollo and them, or not Apollo, Ares, Zeus and Ares, is one of my favorite scenes. Ares could be in this show.
That's what I'm saying. There's probably gonna be a lot of the gods in this show.
Zeus is an asshole. I don't think everybody realizes, but like these
Hercules gods lied to you. Yeah, the movie Hercules lied to you. Zeus is usually the bad guy. So
he's not that he's a bad guy, but like
he's a bad guy.
Odin, Zeus, and all these ancient gods, like growing up in like the Judeo-Christian society we've grown up into, where our God is perfect, peaceful being, yada yada yada. Right. Zeus and Odin were fucking everything that walked.
Yeah, they were like condemning people just out of jealousy.
Yeah, no, there was Medusa. Medusa is one of the most fucked up stories. She gets raped. She tells, we just got demonetized. She gets raped, and then tells on.
Wait, you say it again? No, that's a crazy thing.
Because, bro, it is what it is. I hate when people say the R word happened. Yeah, that's terrible, right? That happens to Medusa. She tells it happens, and then the goddess that like Zeus or whoever cheated on her with punishes her, blames her for the rape, and then turns her into Medusa
because she was too pretty,
and she seduced him. Like, that's not a bad guy. like anybody that has empathy, I mean, anybody that sees women as people could see her as a sympathetic figure that didn't deserve to get her head chopped off because she got cursed with turning everybody that she looks at into stone. And all I'm saying is this show could totally play into that.
Absolutely. I agree. Matter of fact, that'd be a cool twist if Medusa was one of them and it happened to her. You know what I mean? Like, that would be a cool twist if they went down that route.
Just pay us, DC. Give us, no one got to pay us. Give us writing credit. You know what I mean?
I'll take the residuals.
Yeah, for real, man. Like shit. But that's my point, bro. Like
I would love a couple thousand up front. But
a lot of the monsters and the heroes of antiquity do not match up with current day standards of what monsters and heroes are. Especially when it comes to things like sexual assault, and women were property. So like the fact that like the strong women who stood up for themselves, or like even in ancient China, man, when a guy cheated or raped somebody or something like that, it was the woman's fault for being so tempting or whatever, which is just an idea of an island full of female warriors that I'm throwing out there because history has built in all these ready-made people that the modern audience, would like to see decapitated by Wonder Woman.
And again, the question is, why did it become an all-women island? Why did they separate themselves from mankind? Like, those are really deep things that you can dive into. And again, especially on the HBO show that we know is not afraid to go there. You can dive into some of those things. And I think it's going to be fascinating. But let's so those are all of the quote unquote brand new things that we didn't know that we were going to get. But also, there's some Elseworld titles, movies that we know are coming out, been coming out, and people are going to try and figure out, well, what's the deal with that? So they've already announced that they're going to be Elseworld, quote unquote, Elseworld titles. They're going to get their own logo. They're going to get their own banner so that when you go to the movies and you see these movies, this is not connected at all to all these other projects that we just talked about. And that includes the Batman Part 2. The script is almost done. That's coming out October 3rd, 2025. Joker 2, or Joker Folie à Deux, will be in theaters October 4th, 2024. And there's an untitled Superman movie. Apparently it's supposed to be like a Black Superman movie, produced by J.J. Abrams and written by Tanisha Coates, still in development. or Ta-Nehisi Coates, I'm sorry, which is still in development. And like I said, all those movies will have the DC Elsewhere label and logo so that people know that this is not connected to anything else. Now, on one hand, I'm excited about this because David Zaslav in the past has said that he wants to just make great movies. And like that's why he likes movies like Joker and the Batman, where it doesn't have to always be connected. You could just have great creators just come in and make these movies. And so that's great. Another part of me is afraid that I feel like they're doing this right now because these movies are already in development and they have no choice but to come out.
I'm not excited for the second Joker. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not.
Okay. Well, I'm just what I fear is whenever these three movies are done, do we ever get any, Elseworld movies, or is everything else just going to be connected? Because there is value in doing that. Think about how many great actors don't do these superhero movies because they don't want to get roped into these 10 picture contracts. You know what I mean? Like, but if you told them like, hey, yeah, we just want to do a one-off, maybe a sequel, they'll be down to do it. How many directors? I mean, think about if Steven Spielberg came to you and said, yo, I would really like to do a Green Lantern movie. What? Yes, please. Well, whatever your budget is, we'll greenlight it. But yeah, you can do it, Steven Spielberg, but it needs to have this in it and that in it and this in it and that in it because it's got to connect to this, that, and the third. And Steven Spielberg, like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that because I don't want it. Now he can. Now it's okay. Go ahead, do what you again. There's so many DC heroes. If you have a DC hero that you want to make, but it doesn't fit into the timeline of what they're trying to do, you know what I mean? Like, now you can do it because there's Elseworld titles. But so I hope they're serious about continuing those titles as well going forward. And I hope they're not just saying, well, these three movies aren't part of it, but we don't want to confuse you. So we're going to let you know that these three movies aren't part of it. And then we'll never, ever show you Elseworld titles again. I hope that's not what they do. I hope they take those opportunities seriously because I think you can get some real. I mean, we've got great movies. The Joker was amazing. The Batman was my favorite movie of the year. So, you know what I mean? Like, I would hate for us not to be able to get movies like that in the future because everything has to be connected to this DCU storyline. I hope they don't do that. So
no, 100%. I think the MCU so far, the biggest mess up was not having more fun with the multiverse aspect of that. Like, everything's so connected that nothing's actually connected now. No, not that nothing's actually connected. Nothing matters. Yeah. So it's a mixture of both, right? Like, it's finding that nice little mix. I like how they're using Elseworlds. Like how it used to be how the comics were. Like, one of my favorite comics is Superman Red Sun. It's a standalone comic, standalone story.
By the way, Rob, I'll keep referencing John Campbell. Rob said, like, bro, that's a great way if you want to bring back Henry Cavill, do that. Like, bring him back for a Red Sun movie. Like, how awesome would that be? Everybody wins, right?
Injustice, man. I'm being serious. Like, I bring Cavill back for the teased Injustice movie that we got in the nightmare scene.
And by the way, it's sounding to me, at least, and we'll get to this in this next slide, right? It's sounding to me that the only person really who's getting rebooted is Henry Cavill. And from what we're hearing, basically what it comes down to, he and The Rock were just impossible to work with. Mm-hmm. Like, it sounds like they were just trying to take over everything and do everything their way and everything else.
Well, explain, because step away from The Rock real quick, because me and you, that's not really even part of what we're talking about. Ironically, right? That it came out this year and it's not really part of anything. I think that goes without saying in regards to issues behind the scenes, how long the movie took to come out, the fact that Black Adam's an anti-hero, the fact that he thought it was on Superman's level. All that stuff speaks for itself to the people we're talking to. But in regards to Henry Cavill, it's a little surprising. So do you have anything that stands out to you off the top of your head? Because he left Man of Steel and The Witcher seemingly simultaneously. Like, what issues did he have with DC that It's
I
just
don't know, but from what I've heard, he has a reputation as somebody who studios don't get along with because he has. I guess one of the quotes I heard was like, I guess he thinks he's bigger than he actually is, type of thing. Where it's like he like everybody wants him as an actor because he looks the part for like they want him for James Bond. You know, a lot of people want him to play James Bond, stuff like that. He has the perfect action hero face. So any action franchise that you want, you could easily make a case for Henry Cavill. And he's a pretty decent actor, right? But some of the rumors that I've heard, at least, and again, I don't know if they're true, just from YouTubers that I watch that are more connected to this stuff.
John Campea is a great source. For anyone that's listening to us that ain't checked out John Campea, I've watched him for 10 years now.
John Campea loves Henry Cavill. You know what I mean? He's heartbroken that he's not Superman anymore. So I'm not even talking about him, but like there's other people that I've watched.
I want to give our boy props because me and Brett both independently like John Campea. I don't remember. I don't want to take credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Please watch the John Campea show. They're awesome. But one of the things, like basically from day one, like he's always thought that he was this megastar, basically, and he's always acted like a megastar. And as you know, some celebrities are just hard to work with. Well, you know what I mean? When you have a guy, and studios in general don't like working with certain people, or they do love working with, like, so for instance, Jason Momoa has the exact opposite reputation. Everybody loves him. He's so easy to get along with. He somebody that just doesn't push back. You ask him to do something, he'll do it. He'll do it to the best of his ability, and he'll you know, he just loves being there, type of thing. He's the type of guy that if he did say, "Hey, I know I just made $1 billion playing Aquaman, but I really want to play Lobo," he's the type of guy that you say, "Okay." You know what I mean? Because you've done everything we've asked of you without any pushback, and you've done it to the best of your ability. Sure, if you really want to play Lobo, we'll play. You know what I mean? He's the type of guy that you do that for. Whereas Henry Cavill, who's like demanding certain things to be Superman, it's like, bro, real talk, your movies didn't even make enough money for you to be like talking your shit.
Shut the fuck up before we turn Jason Momoa into Superman.
Dude, a lot of people think that Jason Momoa might be the new Batman. That's been one of the rumors. Again, John Campea show.
He has the perfect voice. He really has the perfect voice because he has both the grizzly voice and a super nice voice at the same time.
I mean, he could play, and he could be a different type of Bruce Wayne where he could really play up like that playboy aesthetic that Bruce, you know what I mean? Like there's different ways to play Bruce Wayne. Like he's supposed to be a playboy for, you know, he's supposed to be Tony Stark basically in the day, which is why nobody expects him to be Batman, because common sense would say he's Batman. Like who else has enough money to be running around in a tank and with all these gadgets and gizmos?
Who's beating up all these guys in this high-tech equipment? I mean, the 27-year-old billionaire just moved back. No, can't be him.
It can't be him. Wasn't he in like Tibet and stuff, like with monks? No, it's not that guy.
There's a temple there that trains warriors. Yeah, but it can't be him. Look at it.
It's not him. I just saw him last night at that party, blacked out drunk. There was no way he was beating up criminals 2 minutes later. Although
you're telling me this prissy little rich kid beat up a gang full of the mobsters? Okay.
Right. Now, granted, he did have to leave the party early unsuspectingly, but he was throwing up, so it makes sense. The dude's probably blacked out drunk. But that's the whole point. That's how he gets away with it. Jason Momoa could easily pull that off, that duality of it all. But yeah, so my thing is, I just, from the more, and mind you, Henry Cavill manager is The Rock's manager. So even on the business aspect of it, for those you know, this happens in sports all the time, right? It's like sometimes your agent just fucks you over because your agent is saying things and trying to do what's best for the agent and not necessarily what's best for you. So that
I definitely think Ezra Miller's done too. Just to clarify, because I see what you've got written there. Ezra Miller is so done. It might be done, like not just done with Warner Brothers DC, done.
I don't know. I common sense says he should be. Common sense says, I'm sorry, they. Let me be fair. Common sense says they should be, but we continuously hear. Even James Gunn said yesterday that The Flash movie is one of the greatest superhero movies he's ever seen. And yeah, you know, you could say, well, of course they're hyping up that movie, but the hype around this movie has been insane about how good this movie is. If this movie makes $1 billion, and here's what I say too. Obviously, the Flash isn't part of this chapter 1 stuff, right? If the Flash is part of chapter 2, right, which isn't coming out to like 2027, think about that. How long would it have been since his latest incident? His latest incident was summer 2022. And time heals all wounds and winning cures all. If this movie makes $1 billion and they stay out of trouble from now until 2027, I'm telling you they're going to come back. I'm telling you they're going to come back. That now, granted, they're on thin ice. If they do anything, if they even look at somebody the wrong way, they're done. But I truly believe because this movie seems to be that good, they're going to wait and see what the reception is. And they don't have to announce anything anytime soon. We just had 10 projects that's probably going to span that don't even start till 2025. So realistically, a Flash movie probably won't even come out till closer to 2030. At that point, even if you don't like him, you could clearly say, well, they paid their dues. They've been out of the limelight for 8 years. What you want to never act again? You know what I mean? Like, and not to mention Ezra Miller's not The Rock. Most people don't even know what's going on with Ezra anyway. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean, though. Like, I just feel like I'm not trying to say he in some fucking asshole way. So excuse me, like, because I know like they prefer to be called they, which is fine by me. Call people whatever they want to be called.
Yeah.
My problem with Ezra is I just feel like he's saying that. I feel like that dude, that person, is like something's wrong with him. Like, not because he wants to be called they, but because there's some deep emotional issue with them, and
I agree.
They definitely know how to use people, because the issues he's had, or Ezra's had, the issues that Ezra Miller's had is some deep-rooted emotional bullshit. Like regular Hollywood weird bullshit, not like out of the realm of possibility for kid actors, but it's not I'm about to say Tony Stark, not Robert Downey Jr. going on a drug binge and then waking up in a kid's bed because he got in the wrong house. Like, Ezra's purposely acting a fool causing problems.
I'm sorry. What we're not, and again, we're not trying to be disrespectful. It's just sometimes hard to remember to do this now. What they have done, some of it is downright heinous. I get it. But what I'm saying is, because there's two ways to look at it. Some people say, well, because he's not this megastar, you can easily get rid of him, which is true. But also on the other hand, because he's not this megastar, it's not like people are going to remember this 8 years from now. You know what I mean? It's still fresh right now.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, after this movie, because I'm not saying trash the movie that he did, you know what I mean, with Keaton, put it out. I'm not saying like erase the man from human history. I'm saying Ezra ain't worth keeping for the headache and enabling this behavior with the constant ridiculous WB checks he's going to receive. Let him get paid off the work he did. I'm not saying that. Ezra did the movie. If that movie's a hit.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I said it's contingent on, because apparently they're in therapy right now. They're getting help right now. So, and the statement they put out is, we're not worried about it right now. They're getting all the help they can get. When the time comes, we'll discuss what we're going to do moving forward, blah, 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 blah. I guess my point is, if everything goes right, if this movie makes $1 billion, if this movie is critically acclaimed, again, even gets nominated for Best Picture, because the way they're talking about this movie is better be nominated for Best Picture. If there is zero incidences between now and, let's say, 2027, when they would probably have to start production on the sequel, and let's just say Ezra gets the help that they need. You know what I mean? Like, let's give him credit. Like, he's in therapy right now, whatever. If they've turned their life around, I can see them saying, yeah, why not? He's playing a great Flash. The movie made $1 billion. Only a small percentage.
It's a bad look for Superman if Ezra stays on and Henry Cavill don't.
I get you, but again, by 2030, people aren't gonna like. If this movie,
I as a regular person, I just can't see a world where the dude that would get fired from any job keeps his job, but the dude that essentially knows his worth. Because let's be real, we can shit on these guys for having an ego, but two things that Henry Cavill and The Rock do have is value in Hollywood.
I am 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. All I'm saying is, again, winning cures all, time heals all wounds. And like I said, I'll put you this way. If The Flash 2 had to come out by 2026, I would agree with you. It doesn't matter what, this movie can make $2 billion. There's no way they would bring him back. Again, by 2030, that is a totally different conversation. That's all I'm saying. It's a totally different mindset. You know what I mean? Like that's all I'm saying. And I don't think The Flash is even going to come out before. I would probably be willing to bet any Flash movie is not coming out until 2028 earliest, at the earliest. Again, that's still a long time between him and now. It's still fresh.
No, you're right. We'll see. You're right. Time heals all wounds, but Ezra's one of those dudes where it's like you could just find somebody else.
No, again, I agree. I agree.
But to be fair to Ezra, Jared Leto still gets work, so you know. Like Hollyweird, bro.
My point is, there's been worse monsters in Hollyweird.
Yeah. Let us be clear. I'm not saying Ezra needs to be blacklisted from Hollywood for his behavior. I'm saying on a very regular ass level, the way he's acted at this job would get fired from a regular job. Not that he should never get a job again. I don't mean that.
And that's my point. You could always, when that much time goes on, you could always spin it as like, hey, they pay their dues. They've.
Bro, you're talking to a wrestling fan. I'm well aware of terrible human beings getting another chance because it's been enough time.
That's all I'm saying. I guess my point is, right now in February 1st, 2023, it's easy to say he's done. And I'm saying, okay, but this isn't a February.
You're right. Because 20 years ago, Robert Downey Jr. was done.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's my point. This isn't a February 1st, 2023 discussion. This is going to be a February 1st, 2027, 2028 discussion. That's we're going to be in a completely different world by then. That's all. I know. But yeah, so anyway,
what is time?
Yeah, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's 4 movies coming out this year, like 4. And so a lot of people are like, so are we supposed to watch these movies? Are we not supposed to watch these movies? The answer is we don't know yet. The answer is they're not.
No. The answer is watch the movies. You know what gets me? You know what gets me about this whole dialogue? And all y'all, spoiled as fuck. Because the fact that you guys are treating, and I'm talking to the entire nerd community, are treating movies like episodic TV, like how am I going to watch this episode if it doesn't mean anything to more episodes? Shut the fuck up and go watch a movie. Enjoy it. Who cares? I don't care. I really don't. This is me talking as a nerd, spending my money as a consumer, that I do not give a damn. The only one, you know what I'm not watching? You know what I can tell you until somebody tells me to watch it, I'm not going to check it out probably, is Blue Beetle. I just don't care. Like Shazam, Fury of the Gods, I like the first one. I like the cast. I'm going to check it out. Mm-hmm. The Flash, we just talked about that. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I really like Jason Momoa, and I really like the Aquaman movie. I'm going to check it out. You know what they don't need to be? Connected to a bigger universe for me to enjoy it. Like it'd be hypocritical of me to enjoy the Snyder Cut, knowing it's technically a standalone, as much as I did, and then complain that these movies might not be connected to something 3 years from now. I don't care. Entertain me. The MCU didn't entertain me because they were building towards the Avengers. They entertained me because they were good movies.
Right. And shit. Who knows if we're going to be alive 3 years from now? Anyway, enjoy them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
people got mad at me because they were like, "You're young. Why are you saying that?" I don't know if I'm going to be alive by the time Thanos gets to Earth. Like, I'm appreciating my time here. Right. Like, damn, it just annoys me because the MCU spoiled so many people, and they lost the forest for the trees type of thing, because you're sitting here, you're like, well, it's not connected. No one, and I'm telling you, besides nerds like us,
Nobody
No
cares.
one gave a fuck about the Avengers before the MCU started. People weren't like, who the best team is? The Avengers. Because if you were a Marvel fan, you came out swinging hard with the X-Men. No one gave a shit about Captain America and Thor like that.
Or
And then
Iron
here
Man. Again, Iron Man. Nobody gave. Iron Man was a D-list character before.
We knew Iron Man because of fucking Ghostface Killer. That was Tony Stark.
Like, I mean, even Black Panther, if we're being real, Black Panther was probably let's say a C-list hero.
No, he was lower than Iron Man was.
Yeah, true. Okay, he was a D-list character before, what was it, 20 whenever Civil War came out.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm good on the I don't need everything to be connected. Like that's so. You're so damn spoiled, and you're fooling it. The worst part is
you got to put this slide because people do want to know. And really, the answer is you should watch it, because if you do like these characters and you want them to return, they're trying to see what these movies do. And James Gunn basically said it like, hey, yeah, like this can connect and that can connect. Like, yo, he's basically saying like, yo, man, if you really love Jason Momoa and Jason Momoa is safe. We already know that he's posted 2 videos now of him basically like, yeah, I'm good. I don't know about the rest of yo, it is, but I'm good. But if you do love these characters so much, support the damn movie. Support the movie. Again, everybody's mad at Henry Cavill's not back. Dude, a Batman and Superman movie should have made $1 billion in its sleep. It didn't.
Well,
like,
yeah, but and everyone rightfully blames the studio on that. But
no, because at the end of the day, Marvel puts out crap all the time, and it still does the numbers it's supposed to do. So, I mean, for the most part, the Marvel hasn't had a legit flop in a long time. And I know Batman and Superman wasn't technically a flop, and I know Man of Steel wasn't technically.
No, I'm with you, but I think if we're gonna call Batman versus Superman a flop, I think it's safe to kind of point to Eternals and say that's a flop.
Yeah, but Eternals, nobody.
Oh no, I'm with you. Then I'm not comparing the birth of the Justice League to the Eternals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to be fair to the Eternals.
Superman fighting Doomsday, which we knew from the trailers was happening, that should have made $1 billion in its sleep without even trying. Like, that could have been the worst movie ever created, and that should have made $1 billion.
You're right.
I mean, and it just didn't. And so, people keep bitching about the Henry Cavill stuff. It's like, well, y'all didn't support. The Rock's mad about Black Adam. Like, bro, your movie barely made $400 million.
Man, The Rock, Black Adam's The Rock's fault. Black Adam's such The Rock's fault because it had to be like, it's one of those things where Will Smith, at least seemingly, owns his L's, right? You don't see him blaming studios or anything like that. Like, the biggest criticism of Will Smith in the last 10 years is he only plays Will Smith now. And that's The Rock. The Rock has been blamed for that his whole career. You just keep playing versions of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and with Black Adam, his chance to not do that and to play something away from character, he essentially wanted to be anti-hero Superman. But in reality, if you wanted to be anti-hero Superman, you could have just casted yourself in a Superman movie.
What I love about it is, so I watched another video the other day about it. Oh, it might be the one that you sent me. Yeah, it might have been the one that you sent me, where he basically, at the beginning of the project, I remember this project was like first started like 2009. He was all for being Black Adam, but by the time 2015 came and they were really starting to talk about it, he was like, well, I'm a major character now, so I don't want to be some Shazam villain. Asshole, that's what you are. You literally same powers as this guy. Like, what are you talking about? And the fact that you didn't want to be the villain in Shazam, you wanted your own movie and build up to something even bigger. And then even then, you were willing to build up to Shazam, but as long as you had your own movie first. But then it was like, well, fuck Shazam. I don't even want to fight Shazam at all. I just want to fight Superman. What? What are we talking about? So, I mean, whatever. The point is, if you want these characters and you want these movies to continue, yes, go watch them this year. There's 4 of them. They all apparently are getting rave reviews. Go watch them, because that will allow the studio to say, okay, let's continue with these movies and these characters going forward in the DCU, period. So that's that. All right. So here's my initial thought of this, right?
We already gave our initial thoughts. We're like 2 hours in.
Well, no, just the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
I really like what they're going for here. I think the mantra of gods and monsters I think is very, very fitting. Obviously, it's literal based on we're literally getting movies about gods and Superman, stuff like that, and Paradise Lost, and we're obviously getting things about monsters, Swamp Thing, and everything else. But I also think there's an overarching metaphor for this whole chapter. I love how all the Superman related stuff is basically everything from Supergirl to the Authority to all this other stuff is basically just testing his character. Like, okay, are we going to get a jaded Superman? Because again, I think the jaded Superman thing works if you build up to it, right? If he starts out like as a Boy Scout, but through all this constant war with other people that match him physically, but also test his morality. If he gets a little jaded by then, now you got something very, very interesting on your hands. And even if he stays a Boy Scout through it all, that's even more interesting. Like, wow, you were able to face your cousin who's dealt with real stripe. You were able to face the Authority who's dealt with real stripe. Batman and Damian, what the hell is going on with them? All these other things, and you're still this perfect Boy Scout. That's commendable. You know what I mean? Like, so no matter how they do it, the fact that this first chapter seems to be we're going to constantly test Superman to prove how good of a person he really is. I like that. I think that's fascinating. I think they could do if that's what they're going for. I think that could be something that's really, really, really cool, and I'm really excited for that. For this first chapter, I really do. And you could go ahead and say what your initial thoughts of it were.
Oh yeah, I it's funny because you pretty much copy and pasted my actual text. Like, I didn't know when you asked me, I was just kind of like, this is marketing. Like, I might be jaded because my wife's in marketing, but this is all words to me. Like, I'm old enough to have sat through how many unveilings of how many movies of how many things, and yeah, a lot of them get made. A lot of them do. A lot of them don't. Mm-hmm. So until I see the trailer, because the trailer, at least
a lot of them come out and they're not good.
Yeah, like how excited were all of us for the phase after Endgame, and how many people are no longer checking for MCU movies like that? I was super excited for all the DCEU stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean. Not to sound like jaded, because like I'm happy we had this pod, because in my head I was like, I hope Brett doesn't think I don't want to talk about this, just because like that's my God's honest truth of a reaction.
No, I actually love the fact that was your take, because I think that's what they're going to struggle with, right? Because you even said on another thing, like, I don't trust Warner Brothers or whatever. Like, that's how a lot of people feel. So that's what Warner Brothers is dealing with. You're dealing with half the fan base that's optimistic like me, and you're getting another half of the fan base like, yo, bro, you have no credibility with me. I'll see the movies, but the moment you put out a flop, I'm probably done. Because yeah, you're selling hope, but you got to deliver on it. So I actually loved your take, because I think that shows where we are as DC fans. Like, me and you love DC. There are a lot of DC fans out here, and a lot of people are, have mixed feelings, because we just want the DC properties to be done right. So far, it's been so-so if we're being nice, and that's us being nice. And yeah, like, again, they don't have any credibility with us right now. James Gunn maybe did, because I like the Suicide Squad. I like Peacemaker. But still, at the end of the day, until they prove they can pull it off, we don't know yet. So I like the fact that I actually love the fact that was your take, because I think that's what a lot of people's take is. Like, yo, bro, I don't care until I see the movies. It sounds
like I already explained my other comment, whether it's connected or 20 standalone. It's that's what we already commented on, that I really don't care about anything they're telling me until I see the final product. Because I didn't care when they said there was going to be a female Thor, and then I saw the newest Thor, and that wasn't even the problem with the Thor. Like that, like they made it not serious enough for that storyline they inserted, and they were selling the movie on. I don't have any problems with positive messages, strong female leads, and all that. I like Wonder Woman. I didn't like Captain Marvel. You know what I mean? Like, it's all in the execution of it. And like how we talked about black superheroes, it's all in the execution of it. We don't give a fuck about your black superhero if the movie sucks.
Right.
It's just reality.
If Black Panther wasn't good, it wouldn't have been the cultural phenomenon that it is. Right. So it's just about do it right. I mean, that's what it's about. And you know, it makes sense of why fans are split, and we'll see. Again, they got 4 movies, and what does kind of suck is the 4 movies coming out this year. If they aren't good, people, again, because they don't follow this stuff, are still going to be like, well, see, it's the same old. I was like, well, that's not fair, because these movies were made way before this anyway. So that's why in this next slide, we're talking about the most anticipated, and I specifically wanted us to talk about the most anticipated of the 10 new projects that we just found out about yesterday, because we know about the other stuff. So we're both high on Brave and the Bold. That's both our number ones. Lantern is your number 3. Lantern is my number 2. Again, I love Jon Stewart. I love the concept of that show. I think that's going to be awesome. The Authority for me, number 3, because especially since it's an IP I've never heard of, but the more I learned about it over the last not even 24 hours, the more I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Sign me up for that. Paradise Lost, I think that's going to be awesome. That's number 2 on your list. And I'm, that easily could be higher on my list as well. And then my last one was Booster Gold. I just think that's going to be hilarious. I'm in for a good time with that one.
No, you sold me more on Booster Gold in this pod than I was when I first saw it. Not that I'm more likely to check for that than like a couple other projects, I guess. Like, but like only because of how you sold it to me, though. I'll admit that. The Authority only sounds good to me, and I put that because I like the premise idea. But then again, they're taking advantage of The Boys and the success that's had, because they could have always made a project that made fun of superheroes, but while also having the heroes act in a gray area. Yeah, I'm mostly excited for Batman anything. So that's why Batman 2 isn't up there, like Brett said. Paradise Lost, though, might be my number 1. Brave and the Bold is my number 1 because Batman. But Paradise Lost, as far as taking everything equally, that's probably what I want to not suck the most.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly thought you would be more excited about Swamp Thing. You love all the horror stuff. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, here we go, Charles. There you go. A rated R horror film. We don't know if it's going to be rated R, but it's going to be a horror film. And plus, it's James Gunn. He would, if James Wan said, yeah, I want to make Swamp Thing a gory rated R horror film where he's just murking people in the swamps, James Gunn will say, okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think there's any project I'm not at least curious about, which is good. You know what I mean? Like, that was my biggest fear. Like, am I not gonna care about honestly, the only one I really don't care about at all is Superman, only because for those of you that don't know, I actually hate Superman. I hate everything about Superman. Everything about him. I hate Superman. But I'm still gonna go see it. But also, again, the level of bitching and moaning about this movie is gonna be nauseating from the Henry Cavill fanboys. That's just gonna be like, oh, he not my Superman. And it's like, bro, then don't watch
We're old, bro. Like, man, it's just I'm old. I know it's coming. Like, I'm not denying that. It's just I'm old enough to remember when people bitched about Man of Steel.
Yeah,
like it's only recently where we're all agreeing Man of Steel is a good movie.
Right,
because your whole point was you weren't a box office hit as Superman that you think you are, which is true on paper, right? And you're 100% right. Where are all you assholes when the movie comes out?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Y'all talk so much on Twitter, but then don't show up when the movies come out.
Well, I'm not going to spend money. I'm just going to tour in it, and blah 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 blah. And then it's just, like, so. I'm sad that 10 years later, in 2023, we're sitting here. We got to worry about Henry Cavill stands when I was getting attacked by the fucking Christopher Reeve stands a decade ago. for saying that's the best Superman movie. And I still think it's the best Superman movie. I'm just feeling old because now there's a generation that don't understand that they're always going to move on from these actors.
So yeah, that's probably the only movie I'm like not at all excited for, just because I just know it's just gonna be a headache. You know what I mean? I just don't want to deal with it. Like I'm gonna watch it. Obviously, I gotta watch it. It's important. It's Superman, but at the same time, that's the only project that I'm just like, bruh. Like I kind of want to get that one over with. You know what I mean? Like, because
I'm not excited. Like the funny part is, I'm not excited about any of this until I see it.
No, yeah, you know, that's what. Yeah,
like on some real shit. Like it doesn't make it for a good pod. Just go nah, and then just walk away. But on some real shit,
again, I do. I like the fact that
and blame The Rock. No, to Brett's credit, blame the fucking Rock, because I was excited when I heard he was going to be Black Adam 15 effing years ago. And me and Brett like the movie for what it is. It's ironic because the good movie was in there, man. The good movie was in there
somewhere.
But you have an ancient Egypt, supposed to be ancient Egypt, and then you turn it into more of an Iraq, which is fine. Babylon exists. And then it's just the most generic shit. Like, you didn't have the balls just to make it America, to make the bad guys the American military. You didn't have the balls to do that, even though everybody that's military is Western enough to be considered American.
And you know, again, in that video you sent me, it's hilarious that, and I didn't even think of this. It's like, yeah, the fact that Black Adam, Dr. Fate, and Hawkman all have Egyptian ties, and they don't even reference that like at all in the movie. It's just insane. I was like, wait, yeah, huh? Like they didn't even talk about they didn't even.
And to your point about like standalones and all everything being connected, MCU stands. Where the fuck is Moon Knight? Like, where the fuck was Daredevil this whole time? If everything's supposed to be connected and all this other shit, and you want to be like, oh yeah, multiverse, oh blah blah blah, none of this shit has actually been connected. There's a fucking giant whatever in the middle of the Indian Ocean no one's talking about. Like Wanda, to Brett's whole fucking rant like from a year ago, exists. Like just she exists, and nobody cares. Kang looks cool. I'll say that, but Loki doesn't seem to have any impact.
First of all, time is this construct. That was 3 years ago. Yeah. Yep.
All right, time to wrap it up, bro.
Yep. That's it. You can find me at Never For Brett Me. That's NEVA_4 BRETT_ME on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'll be coming back at you guys, both of us, with a ranking 30 old effing MCU movies, my nice little Giants take, and me not paying for therapy but talking into this mic to anyone that's listening, because that was 3 fucking years ago. Yo, Brett, my 10-month-old son has seen more playoff games in the last year than you have. Just want to throw that out there. You can find me at Not the Chuck D on all the socials. We're at _dope blog on Instagram, the dope blog, all one word, on Twitter, www.thedope.blog. And my son is a good luck charm, and the Giants are moving on up because my son exists, and every time he watched, we won. That's why that game at being late hurt so much. He was asleep. So
that's why I lost. Okay.
Yeah, bro, the lucky charm was gone. That's why.
Yeah, that's the reason why. Anyway, because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. And you could join us next time we continue to discuss other people's excellence.
Go Giants.